That is the Levelling Up Secretary Michael Gove. He's with us now. Good morning.
Hi, good morning,
for joining
Kate.
us on the programme. Is any of this money new?
Well, I think that's a bogus argument because the Chancellor gave us a huge cheque in the spending review and now we are spending it. And we're making sure in Wolverhampton, in Sheffield and in other areas that we put our money where our mouth is and that we make sure that money which in the past was spent too much in London and the South East is now spent in the North and Midlands where it's needed.
OK, although, of course, there are quite a few areas in London, I'm thinking Tower Hamlets just down the road, that need quite a lot of money themselves.
Well, there's inequality in London, and you're absolutely right. Tower Hamlets, Barking and Dagenham, they need support as well, and the government is working with the Mayor of London in order to do that. But one of the big problems that we have as a country is the geographical inequality. London and the South East, an economic powerhouse, but the North and Midlands, not so much. And that's why we need to invest in schools, in skills. That's why we need to improve wages. That's why we need to make sure that we level up across the country.
People who've been forgotten. Forgotten by whom?
Overlooked and undervalued for years.
By whom?
Well, by politicians. The Brexit referendum was a wake-up call, as well as a clear commandment to leave the European Union. It was also a way of saying to people in SW1, people like me, look, it's vital that you change the economic model of this country. It's all very well if people in London and the South East and financial services and others do well. We don't begrudge that, but you've got to listen to us. And in 2019, the baton was passed to Boris. There was a clear instruction, deliver for us. We've had 2 difficult COVID years, but now that we're coming out of it, we are making good on that promise by a commitment to improve jobs and wages, by spending more of the science money that is so vital to growth in the North and Midlands, and also by making sure that the schools and colleges that people attend are fit for purpose.
OK, but you guys have been in power for the majority of this century.
Well, there have been mistakes made by parties of both colours, and one of the things in the past is there have been sincere and committed attempts by politicians left and right to deal with this, but nothing as comprehensive or as long-term as the plan that we're setting out today.
Yeah, OK, but you do acknowledge that you guys have been in power for 12 years.
Yes, I do, and one of the things about that is that sometimes...
But you've forgotten these people up and down the country.
Well, as I say, there was a wake-up call in 2016, and one of the things that is often, one charge that is often made against governments is that they run out of steam. I think what we're seeing here is a commitment to make sure that, far from running out of steam, we're firing up every engine of the economy. And I think it's also important to recognise that when Boris was elected Prime Minister, there was a new government with a new mission, and that mission was to level up, and we're giving the detail today on how we do that.
And very soon after he took power, of course, he had to deal with a global pandemic.
Absolutely.
And to that end, you had to spend £12.1 billion on PPE, but £8.7 billion of that apparently was wasted. Was that...
Not quite.
Was that panic buying? What was that?
No, not quite. Firstly, I'm not going to apologise for the fact that we moved heaven and earth to get all the PPE that people on the front line needed. Now, some of those figures are accountancy markdowns that relate...
8.7 billion?
No, yes, some of it is. Because
what sort of accountants are you using?
Well, the key thing here is that the price that we paid for PPE at the height of the pandemic is greater than the cost now. And that is because everyone was in a global race to find that PPE.
And a lot of it was rubbish and you couldn't use it.
No, more than 97% of it was absolutely right for the front line.
We were so excited about those planes that were coming into RAF Bryce Norton that we were sending film crews up there. The stuff was coming in from, I think, I'm right in saying Turkey.
Turkey, Saudi Arabia, China, Hong Kong, globally. No, the overwhelming majority, 97%, was usable, was fit for purpose on the front line. I remember, right at the beginning of the pandemic, my friend, the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, the Labour MP, writing to me saying, please, 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 get PPE. And she gave us a list of people that we should contact, including people who were, theatrical, medieval costuming.
Plane coming in RAF Bryce Norton?
Well, quite. And at that point...
stuff that was on that plane was not usable?
At that point, everyone was screaming at us, get more PPE, and we got it. And that was the right thing to do at that time. Okay. And those figures are, I think, erroneous and inflated. And more importantly,
a bit like what you paid for the PPE.
No, well, at the time, OK, everyone was desperate to get PPE. There were doctors in Germany, outside the German parliament, complaining that we couldn't get it. Well, it wasn't...
There's no case to answer at all?
No, I'm proud of what we did on PPE.
OK, well, let's see what happens as far as that's concerned. Have your tea.
Thank you.
While I ask you, because you'll need it, when I ask you about what's happening as far as Jimmy Savile and that comment that the Prime Minister made on Monday, I think. This is what he said, just to remind our viewers.
This leader of the opposition, a former director of public prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, so he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile, as far as I can make out, Mr. Speaker.
As you can imagine, Keir Starmer not at all happy about that. He was on the show yesterday, actually. This is what he said.
It is a ridiculous slur peddled by right-wing trolls.
He's doubled down today, the Prime Minister, it seems, in The Sun, saying that he doesn't want to apologise. Do you think he's got anything to apologise for?
No.
OK. Lindsay Hoyle thinks he has. Lindsay Hoyle said, I'm far from satisfied about the comments. And lawyers for the Savile victims have accused your leader of weaponising their suffering. You still don't think he's got anything to apologise for?
No, I think this is a uniquely sensitive issue and it does need to be handled with care. And I listen with enormous respect to those who act for victims of, the actions of a terrible, terrible criminal. But, and it's not a subject that I want to dwell on because it is uniquely sensitive. It is the case that the CPS apologised for their handling of this case and what happened in 2009. And I think we should acknowledge that an apology was given at the time and respect that.
He wasn't directly involved, Sir Keir Starmer, when he was head of the DPP at the time, or he was the DPP at the time, and he says it's a slur.
Well, I respect Keir's point of view, but I think it is also the case that it's on the record, and indeed he himself acknowledged that errors were made. He, to his credit, brought in a very distinguished lawyer, Alison Levitt, to look at the situation, and then an apology was made. I think we should respect that.
So Lindsay Hoyle is wrong, as are the lawyers for the Savile victims?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that in a uniquely sensitive case, Keir Starmer acknowledged that mistakes had been made by the organisation of which he was head. To his credit, he was very clear about those mistakes. He brought in an independent lawyer to look at that, and I think that we should recognise that in doing that he did the right thing. OK, let's move on to parties, should we? I'm sure that story will continue on, but thank you for your answers for now. Parties investigations. 2 more parties we're being told about in the newspapers today. Apparently, one of them showing that the Prime Minister there's a photograph of him, we haven't seen it yet, we're told that it is available, or will be, of him at the party at the flat in his own flat above number 11. I always get mixed up between number 10 and number 11 because he's number 10, but the flat's above number 11, is it? It's a little bit bigger. Let's remember what he said on the 8th of December.
I can understand how infuriating it must be to think that the people who have been setting the rules have not been following the rules, Mr. Speaker, because I was also furious to see that clip. I have been repeatedly assured since these allegations emerged that there was no party and that no COVID rules were broken.
He was belting out ABBA hits.
Well, all of these allegations are being investigated by the Metropolitan Police. There's been any number of allegations in the newspapers, but again, we've just been talking about the importance of due process and law, and I think it's only right that we allow the Met to get on with their work, and then appropriate conclusions can be drawn at the end of it.
He must have known if he was in his own flat with lots of people singing ABBA hits, the winner takes it all.
Well, we'll, as I know, have all sorts of allegations and speculation in the media. Fair enough, but the Met are doing their job, and until they've concluded, I don't think it would be right for me to comment.
Come on, he knows whether he was in the flat or not, singing ABBA hits.
Well, all I would say is that I wasn't in...
No, but he was.
Well, there are all sorts of allegations that have been made. I know that some of the allegations that have been made, and I don't want to get into a tit for tat, but I know that some of the allegations that have been made in some parts of the media are speculation that is not true, and so therefore I can't act as an automatic fact checker
let me put it this way.
on
If
all
the,
of them.
Of course,
when the
and
Met,
I'm not asking you to. I'm
the
putting
Met
a
are looking at those
matter
facts.
to you. If he was in the flat singing "The Winner Takes It All" with his missus, when he said that he didn't know about any parties, he misled Parliament. Should he resign?
Again, you're asking a hypothetical question.
No,
I think during the pandemic.
Why is that hypothetical?
Well, during the pandemic, I think there were some moments when I may have been sitting at home and working, listening to music and concentrating on my job, while at the same time...
Were you eating birthday cake?
No, but the whole point of...
Was somebody singing happy birthday to you?
Well, the whole point of the Met investigation is that you don't have to ask and I don't have to ask. Officers can ask and they can make sure that they establish all the information. And once they've concluded their investigation, then we can know.
We are, it would appear, a laughingstock. He is straddling the world stage, trying to be very statesmanlike. And we've been looking at some of the quotes this morning. Russia NTV reaction: if it were within the power of Boris Johnson, the report would have vanished into the bowels of the Victorian sewers of the City of London. And this one from the Washington Post: the circus must be... The circus music, forgive me, is winding down for Bojo the clown. We're a laughingstock.
No, I think that when you're quoting from Russian television...
The Washington Post, there you go.
We'll come on to the Washington Post in a second.
Well, let's go with that one then.
No,
if you don't like the other one, are you going to cherry pick? I thought we couldn't cherry pick.
Oh, no, I'll look at both of them.
OK.
First of all, one of the reasons why Russian television is attacking the Prime Minister is the Prime Minister is leading the West's efforts in order to ensure...
What about this one?
It's important to deal with both of them. In order to ensure that we defend Ukraine's territorial integrity against Putin. So, of course, he's going to be attacked by Russia. And a single commentator in an admittedly respectable but still centre-left American newspaper is not representative of world opinion.
Let's try this one then.
But I'll tell you what is happening internationally. And that is, in the Ukraine, there is a recognition that Britain and Poland are its two strongest allies. We were told after Brexit Britain would be on the margins and on the sidelines of the big international issues. But the Prime Minister was welcomed by President Zelensky and Vitaly Klitschko in Ukraine yesterday because our commitment to provide assistance to the Ukraine shows that we are standing tall for democracy, far from being criticised by Democrats internationally. We are leading the fight for democracy, and I wear as a badge of pride the fact that Russian television is attacking our Prime Minister. OK.
What about Sir Malcolm Rifkind? How do you feel about him, former Foreign Secretary?
Old friend of mine.
He says it damages the authority of the British government. Yesterday, he was due to speak to President Putin and was forced to cancel that very important conversation because of his domestic difficulties back home, talking about him having to appear in the House to talk about Sue Gray as opposed to speaking to Putin. We're out of time, so...
I think Vladimir Putin got the message when the Prime Minister was in the Ukraine yesterday. We've given the Ukraine the weapons it needs to protect itself. We're going to take the sanctions against Russia necessary if there is a single Russian boot that crosses the border there. And so I don't think you necessarily need to dial Vladimir Putin on his mobile phone for him to get the message that he should back off.
OK, good to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Thank you.